Hi, I'm Ella, a 28-year-old marketing professional with a lifelong dream of a perfect wedding, but everything changed on a day I will never forget. I was always the dependable one in our family. My younger sister, Lily, was the star of our parents' world, and while I didn't mind, I never imagined the depth of betrayal that awaited me. One afternoon, I walked into my parents' house, buzzing with excitement to finalize the last details of my wedding. As soon as I entered, the scent of fresh paint and sawdust hit me. Confused, I made my way to the kitchen, which had been outdated just weeks ago. Now, it resembled something from a high-end home renovation magazine. "Mom, Dad, what's going on here?" I asked, my voice echoing off the newly installed tiles. "Oh, Ella, it's wonderful, isn't it?" my mom exclaimed. "We decided it was time Lily had a kitchen worthy of her talents. Her old one was so cramped." "Yeah, Ella, look at this space. It's amazing," Lily added, her voice full of excitement. A chill settled in my stomach as I took in the transformation. I didn't want to ask, but my curiosity got the better of me. "Where did the money for this come from?" My dad cleared his throat and looked away. Mom's voice was unusually firm when she responded, "Well, since Lily needed it more, it came from your wedding fund." My heart sank. The wedding fund, the money my parents had been saving for me for years. Tears welled up in my eyes as I struggled to find words. "You used it for this without even asking me?" Ella's face fell as she processed the news. "I didn't know. I thought they had extra savings." "Enough," I snapped, my voice sharper than intended. I turned to my parents, seeing the defensive look in their eyes. There was no point in arguing. Their decision was made. "I see where your priorities lie," I said coldly. "Consider yourselves uninvited to the wedding." "But Ella," my mom began. "No," I interrupted. "If my dreams mean so little to you, then I don't want you there." I walked away from the pristine kitchen, each step feeling like a fracture in my heart. By the time I reached my car, tears streamed down my face. But with them came a new resolve, one as unyielding as the granite countertops that had replaced my wedding dreams. I would still have my wedding, but it would be on my terms, smaller, simpler, and entirely mine. As for my family, they had made their choice. Now, I was making mine, to build a life where I came first, starting with the one day that was supposed to be all about me. After canceling my parents' invitations, I hoped the drama would subside, but it only intensified as I adjusted my wedding plans. Rumors began to circulate, fueled by my parents showing off Lily's new kitchen, even suggesting it was a better investment than a wedding. "Can you believe they actually said that?" my best friend Tara asked, her voice thick with disbelief as we sat over coffee. "A kitchen is more important than your wedding?" I replied, my voice tinged with bitterness. "Apparently, my life's biggest milestone is less significant than a remodel." Tara shook her head, frustration evident. "It's unbelievable." In that moment of fresh anger, I realized that canceling their invitations wasn't enough. They needed to face the consequences publicly. I needed an ally who understood exactly what I was going through. Reconnecting with my Uncle Mike, who had distanced himself from the family years ago, was like finding a lifeline. He'd always been critical of their shallow values. "You know, Ella," he said, his voice rough with disapproval as we sat in his cozy, book-lined study, "I've always known they favored Lily, but this is something else." Mike's eyes narrowed as he leaned forward. "What if we didn't let this go? What if we showed everyone exactly who they are?" His plan was simple but brilliant: host a family reunion, the kind we hadn't had in years, where we could expose my parents. Planning the reunion gave me something to focus on besides my scaled-down wedding. Mike and I worked through guest lists and old family contacts, sending out invitations with a hint of a big surprise. On the day of the reunion, my stomach was a tight knot of nerves as relatives trickled into Mike's spacious backyard. Buzzing with curiosity, I spotted my parents arriving, their faces a mix of confusion and cautious pleasure. Once everyone had gathered, Mike clinked his glass, calling for silence. "Family," he began, his voice carrying over the murmurs. "We're here today to celebrate transparency among us." My parents exchanged uneasy glances as Mike continued. "And what better way to do that than to address some misconceptions?" He turned to me and gave a small nod. Taking a deep breath, I stood up to face the crowd. "Many of you have heard about or seen Lily's new kitchen," I began, my voice steady but emotional. "What you might not know is how it was funded." Whispers rippled through the crowd as I held up copies of bank statements and contractor bills, clearly showing the trail of my wedding fund leading into the kitchen remodel. "The money set aside for my wedding since I was a child was used without my consent," I continued, My dream was deemed less important than a set of fancy kitchen appliances. Lily looked mortified, staring at her feet while my parents' faces turned a deep shade of red. Mike took over, his voice stern. "We stand for fairness and support in this family," he said. "Today, we've seen a clear example of the opposite. Let's reflect on what that means for us moving forward." "Why would your parents do that?" an aunt asked, disbelief in her voice. "It seems fairness was overlooked in favor of necessity, as they saw it," I replied, my bitterness heavy. Lily, flushed with embarrassment, stood up. "I didn't know, Ella. I swear I didn't know they used your money." "It's not just about the money, Lily," I said, frustration seeping through. "It's about trust, respect. Our intention was never to hurt anyone," Dad interjected defensively. "Lily needed help, and we made a tough call." "A tough call," I echoed, my voice rising. I couldn't hide the incredulity in my voice. "What about my wedding? What about my dreams?" The relatives shifted uncomfortably, the air thick with tension. "It seems to me," an older cousin spoke up, "you focused only on one daughter. What about Ella?" "Yeah, how do you justify choosing between your children like that?" another added. The room buzzed with heated voices as family members took sides, some expressing sympathy, others outrage. "Enough," Mike's voice cut through the clamor. "This isn't just a family squabble over money. It's a revelation of priorities. Today, we've seen where those priorities lie." The room fell into a heavy silence. My parents' usual confidence crumbled under the weight of the disapproving glares from around them. The festive mood of the reunion had turned somber and uncomfortable. Relatives began to leave, offering me sympathetic glances and pats on the back as they went. "I'm sorry, Ella," Lily muttered as she passed, avoiding my gaze. "Don't be," I replied. "It's not your fault, but it's clear now I need to step away from them." The drive home was quiet. My earlier resolve to expose the truth mingled with a deep sadness. Yet amidst that sadness, there was a strange sense of relief. The truth was out, and with it came the opportunity to rebuild not just my wedding plans, but my life, free from the shadows of favoritism and unspoken resentment. After the reunion, the fallout was swift and widespread. Whispers of betrayal echoed through the community, casting my parents in an unflattering light they had never anticipated. Walking through town became a gauntlet of hushed conversations and sidelong glances. At the grocery store or the post office, I'd overhear snippets like, "Did you hear about the Johnsons? They used their daughter's wedding fund for a kitchen remodel." "Yeah, and at the expense of their other daughter. Poor Ella." The community's judgment was a cold comfort. It wasn't joy I felt, but validation. It came slowly, but it was there, a recognition that my pain had been seen, even if by strangers. One brisk Saturday morning, I ran into Lily at the local market. She approached hesitantly, a basket hanging awkwardly on her arm. Save it, Lily, I'm not in the mood," I interrupted, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she said softly. "Whether you knew or not doesn't change what happened," I replied, my tone flat. "They chose Lily, they always choose, and somehow, I'm always the one paying the price." Lily looked down, hurt filling her eyes, but this time, I didn't soften. I couldn't. "I need space, Lily, space to heal and rebuild my life without the chaos our parents bring." She nodded slowly, stepping back. "I understand. If you ever need anything, just know I'm here." I watched her walk away, her shoulders slumped, mirroring the weight I had carried for so long, but I felt lighter, stronger. Months trickled by, and rumors of my parents' misfortunes began to reach me. Their once thriving boutique, a cornerstone of their social lives, was faltering. Regular customers, once charmed by their hospitality, now saw through them. "No thanks. I can't trust them after what they did to their daughter," I'd overhear. As their reputation crumbled, so did their financial stability. Whispers of bankruptcy began circulating, a sharp contrast to the comfort and privilege they had always known. Amidst their decline, I found my own rise. My wedding day arrived, not with the grandiosity I had once envisioned, but with a heartfelt, genuine celebration. The venue was modest, filled only with close friends and a few family members who had stood by me. Each moment was a step toward mending my sense of self-worth. "Congratulations, Ella," Uncle Mike toasted, his eyes shining with pride. "Here's to new beginnings and true happiness." The reception was filled with laughter and dancing, the air fragrant with jasmine and illuminated by the soft glow of fairy lights. It was perfect, not despite its simplicity, but because of it. My career also flourished. taking exciting new turns. Promotions came, and with them, opportunities to speak at marketing panels, sharing my experiences and inspiring others facing their own professional challenges. My life, once marred by the toxic chaos of unmet expectations, was now filled with choices I made for myself, surrounded by people who uplifted rather than used me. One evening, as I sat on my balcony, a cold breeze playing with the chimes, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. Betrayal had been a harsh teacher, but the lessons of self-worth and resilience were invaluable. Gazing at the stars, I realized that sometimes the hardest trials forge the strongest souls. My parents' choices had set everything in motion, but it was my own choices that defined my ending. In that quiet moment, I knew I had chosen well. This concludes Ella's journey of confronting betrayal and discovering her path to happiness. What are your thoughts on her decision to sever ties with her family? Was it the right choice? Or could things have been handled differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more compelling tales. Your support helps us bring more stories to life.